All right, so I got a patron request for Even Lambs Have Teeth. I'm recording over here right now because Kaylee is over there working right off frame. Hi. So, anyway, all right. Even Lambs Have Teeth. Now, this is one I had seen the poster for many times for some reason, but had never seen. It was just one I skipped over for whatever reason. I think this is like 10 years old at this point. I could be wrong on that, but I thought I saw it was 2015. So it's, a little bit older at this point. And this is about Katie and Sloan, who are going to work on an organic farm. And while they are on their way there, they meet up with some local dudes that they trust to drive them instead of the bus. And they do not take them to the organic farm. They take them to their house where they are abducted and then are sold into sex slavery. And then it turns into a rape revenge film from there, a la I Spit on Your Grave. I'll just say outright, okay, so I'll get my positives out of the way. I did like our two lead girls here, Katie and Sloan. Both very likable. I really like Sloan a lot. I thought she was pretty funny. I thought she was pretty charming. But I like both of them. I think they're both good actresses. I know the girl who plays Sloan in this went on to do quite a bit, and I can see why. So that's the positives for sure. The reason that this was recommended to me is because I know the person who wanted this done is privy to the fact that I'm a big catharsis type of film fan. I really like when people who have been betrayed or abused or whatever get their vengeance. I'm a big fan of this. Definitely something that always makes me very very happy. And when people can't get their comeuppance when they deserve it, it always irks me because I just want there to be justice in the world, even if it's just through film. Um, so I understand why this was recommended to me as a big fan of, I Spit on Your Grave. Unfortunately, yeah, this movie really didn't work for me much at all. Unfortunately, I already said unfortunately, but it's so unfortunate. I had to say it twice because this is definitely the kind of film that I usually dig. But I'm going to get into all the reasons why this didn't work for me. But yeah. So anyway, we start off, spoilers, obviously. We start off with the girls hanging out, and we have Katie, who is like the more proper one, and her best friend Sloan, who's more of the wild, uh, open one. And they're hanging out with a group of friends, and they're all gonna take drugs together, and Katie doesn't want to do so. And she gets peer pressured into taking a random drug. The guy was like, I grabbed a handful of random drugs and we're all just going to take one. And they're doing it with alcohol, by the way. They're all drinking it with beer. And she gets peer pressured into it. That's insane. That's insane. That's not a knock on the film because that's fine. It doesn't really amount to a whole bunch, unfortunately. Like I think it kind of sets the tone for that Katie can get talked into things by Sloan that she would otherwise not do. So I think that's the only thing that really sets up because it doesn't go anywhere. Like she takes the drugs with her, and then we cut to the next scene, and they're just having a good time hanging out at the house. So there's no repercussions for doing this. It's not like she does it and then she feels like shit, and then there's some character moment down the line, like every time I listen to you, things go terrible, and they have some fallout with one another. No, none of that happens, which is part of the cons that I'll get to. is there's no real character development for me that feels organic. We just kind of are here, and then we're here, and then we're done. But as I said, we'll get there. But for my own personal message here, I am I am not peer pressurable. It's something I've kind of pride myself on, and I'm extremely adamant. I'm like one of the most stubborn people you'll ever meet. You can ask my wife. She, she's like, and I try to understand when I should not be stubborn. I have to work on that, and I have worked on it. But when I feel very serious and confident about what I'm being a hardliner on, you're not changing my mind. It's just not happening. When I'm doing something for the like it's the principle, or it's a moral thing or whatever. Like I am not changing my tune. It's just not happening. Especially something like taking a random drug. That's and then also doing it with alcohol, which is just like doubly stupid. To be put in a position where you're risking your life just to fit in. I don't know. I just people fascinate me. People fascinate me. I guess because of how I was raised, I've never had the desire to fit in. Like, of course, I want the people I like to like me. But if people are trying to get you to risk your life to fit in with them, do you really want to be friends with those people? Like, for so many different reasons, there's no reason to be associated with people who would try to tell someone, I don't want to do a random drug with you. And they're like, oh, come on. One girl says, don't be a pussy. Don't be a pussy. Putting a random drug into your body, who knows what the hell it is? It could be anything. They don't even know, they don't even know if it's going to get them high. They don't know if it's blood pressure medication. If you took blood pressure medication when you don't need it with a beer, oh my God, it could lower your blood pressure to a point where you die. Like, what are we even talking about? Just taking a random drug is crazy. To be peer pressured into it by your friends is even fucking more insane. But there's nothing that comes of that scene. Nothing at all. Those friends are never seen again. As I said, nothing in the film later is like, why do you always try to push me to do what you want? I'm not you. I thought for sure we were going to get into some of those kinds of like tropes, so to speak, where you have the one more uninhibited friend who is a little more careless and just kind of tries to like live life, and then the other one who's plays by the rules and does what is suspected of her and whatever. And because she hangs out with the bad influence friend who gets her to take drugs that she shouldn't be taking, and then ends up being the one who talks her into getting the car with guys, because that is what happens. Katie is like not wanting to do it, and Sloan is kind of like, oh, like, come on. And so she gets into the car that gets her sold into sex trafficking. It like there's so much meat there for character development but it never goes anywhere. That's crazy to me. And it's like, why is it even in here if we're not even going to address that kind of stuff? So weird, weird stuff there. Anyway, one of the friends that they're drinking with she's this chick, and she has like the biggest mane of hair I've seen on a woman in a long time. If she came into the salon, I'd quit. Anyway, uh, Sloan is like, she's that friend who's everything sex. She's like talking about you meeting her uncle, Katie's uncle, and she's like asking what he looks like, and she's like, oh, this summer I'm probably gonna fuck your uncle, and then she meets him, and she just keeps you know asking him more and more, like, do you have a girlfriend? Is it serious? Can I like all this stuff? As I said, I thought she was funny, and I really liked her dialogue. I thought she delivered it pretty well. Um, she does have, and this isn't shaming of any sort. It's a little too much. She clearly has like caps on all of her teeth, and they're very large. And I don't like the look of it, like in her mouth. Like I feel like the dentist went a little overboard with them, and they could have made them look way more natural. These look very, very fake. I want like veneers myself, and I've looked at a lot of different types, and the like super bright white, and then like very bulky thick teeth that have like no gaps in them. Her teeth don't even look like you could floss between them. They look like they're just like all together in one tooth, like across. They have like divots in them, but there doesn't seem to be any like, you know, um, row to be able to get through. Anyway, stupid side note. Um, so they make up code words with their uncle because he's like a detective and he wants to make sure that they are safe, and if they need him and they're in trouble, they can use these things to get out of it, and to alert him without giving it away. Which does amount to something. I think that their plan to change it day by day, make it an A word day one, make it a B word day two, C word, so on and so forth. The pretty moronic backwoods morons that abduct her are able to figure out the code word very easily. Now, they do end up talking them into putting just Apple again, which they agreed to put a B. But if you were to have only done one day, then maybe you could fall for that. But after 2 or 3 days, when there's just a random word at the end of every text between you and someone back home, where it's apple, balls was supposed to be the second day, and then if it's cherries, and then if it's a D word and then an E word, it would be very easy to figure out. It would be very easy. Now, you would wonder, do they have a very specific word for E, for F, for G, whatever? I just feel like they could have come up with something. And then also, don't put it as the last word completely disconnected from the rest, right? You want to organically work it in to the end of the message. So you say, like, everything's going really good. I ate 2 apples today. And you know how much I don't like apples. Boom. No one would ever suspect anything from that. But to just put the word apple is so stupid. So then the next day, right, balls, you work in some organic, like, end of the message where, I saw a guy get kicked in the balls today. It was really funny. Very simple. Very simple. Why you would just put apple, then balls, then cherries? No. That's too easy of a code to decipher for anyone who has half a brain. So anyway, I'm just, I don't know. I am a little too critical sometimes with these things, but so it makes sense to me. It's also pretty true and awful that these women let down their guard, and this happens a lot of the times in these movies where girls get abducted. Girls are very much on their guard around men, which I understand. But as soon as they see that they have like a friendly woman with them, or even a kid, that'll almost always immediately disarm someone in a movie. Now, would it disarm somebody who is very nervous and skeptical of some guy in real life? Maybe. I mean, I think it would definitely work more so than just the guy on his own. But in movies, yeah, for sure, the women always have like, always fall for when there's another woman around, because they think, of course, no woman would let anything happen to us like that because she's a woman. But not here, of course. She ends up being one of the worst of the worst. That being said, one of my big cons of this is that the villains in this are all one-dimensional, cartoonish villains. And I find that to be true of the entire movie. It's all just very one-dimensional. It's very much like a by the numbers, very tame rape revenge film. And that, I don't know what my biggest critique of the film is. I have quite a few, so I don't know where I'd rank them in the levels of negativity. But it being tame, like, it's like making a slasher without kills, right? To me, you're not understanding your audience. The rape revenge subgenre of horror is, top 3 most brutal subgenres. The entire concept, the entire premise of a rape revenge film is nasty. It's ugly, right? And I think that in order to have a successful rape revenge film, whether it's I Spit on Your Grave or Revenge or MFA or, there's tons and tons of them. Unfortunately, it's not pleasant, but the movie's not meant to be pleasant. And the reason the catharsis is satisfying is because the punishment meets the crimes. And you can't make a rape revenge film that's tame. Unfortunately, if you're going to make this type of film, and if you don't like these kinds of things, if you're somebody who's sensitive to these things and you're like, I don't want to see rape on film, then you shouldn't be making a rape revenge film, nor should you be watching one. Right? So that's the point of these films, is for them to be nasty on both sides of the coin. So if you're going to do a rape in a movie, in a rape revenge film, the rape has to be nasty. The girls have to be violated. They have to be, they have to have their clothes stripped off of them. They have to be violated. That's part of it. That's part of it, right? So that you can really feel the weight of what's happened to them, so that you can justify what happens later. Even though we all agree and know, not all of us obviously, because some people do it, but most of us, the sane ones, agree that rape is awful. I mean, clearly. And then abducting someone and putting them into a sex slavery ring, like, that's even worse, right? Where you're being held against your will and raped repeatedly by paying customers who are coming there, and you're being used as a product, and then you're going to be discarded as soon as they're done with you. Whenever they're done. Those things are awful, right? We get the implications that they're awful, but we live in a world with a lot of horrible things. And implications for me are just not enough. Not strong enough for a film like this. You need to have these girls violated, and then you need to have them violate the people back. And while both are implied, they are never shown. Not really. And that really hurts a rape revenge film. It's gotta be exploitive. It's just gotta be to work. For me personally, I, of course, am talking about my opinion. But in my opinion, these are the types of films. Rape revenge films are exploitation films. I don't think you can make a rape revenge film like this and not have it be like an exploitation type of film. So, yeah, I just, that's probably my biggest con with the film. You really see nothing happen to them much at all. And you really don't see anything happen to the people that they get revenge on. I don't like that. Like, as I said, it's there to some degree. It's there on both sides to some degree, but no. I want to see it both ways. Even though I'm not going to have a good time watching the first, but it sets up my anger to then pay off. All right, I'll stop reiterating the same thing over and over, but I want to make my point. All right, so the fact that the guy, this is part of the earlier part of the film, but I'm going to get into the whole arc of it. So their uncle, who figures out that they've probably been kidnapped and then goes to investigate it, he has a girlfriend, and his girlfriend is trying to get him to go somewhere with her mom or something. And he's like, the girls never made it to where they're supposed to go. I gave them code words to give to me, and they didn't do them correctly. I think something's wrong. And she's like, yeah, like they're big girls. They're fine. Don't worry about it. Forget it. You're not really going to blow me off to go look into this, are you? And she's pissed at him. And she leaves like in a huff. And then throughout the rest of the film, she's mad at him for it going into looking into this. And then at the end of the movie, after he was correct and they were, abducted and put into to sex slavery, he's like, oh yeah, we worked everything out. We're all good now. What? You got back together with this chick? The chick who was berating you and like trying to make you feel bad for looking into your niece's possible abduction? If you're with somebody and you think that a family member or a loved one or shit anybody was abducted and you have the means to potentially save them, and they're like, we were supposed to go to something tonight, you're really going to blow me off to try to make sure that this person isn't kidnapped? Leave that person immediately. Leave that person immediately. But this just is par for the course for this film. As I said, her friend talks her into doing drugs. There's no repercussions. Her friend talks her into getting into a car, which then ends up getting them raped repeatedly. There's nothing to that, right? She never blames her. They're like best friends and colleagues in the end. And same thing with this. This guy's girlfriend is like, how dare you blow off dinner to try to go save your nieces from being abducted? And he's just like, yeah, and we're good now. Like, we're back together. That's what I'm saying. This movie, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Anyway. And yeah, so they get locked up. I honestly don't really have much to say about when they're locked up. Like, it is screwed up that when they have them abducted and they give them hope for fun to like prank them. They have like a cop pull up and they're like, oh my God. And they run to him and he has a gun out, and then they're like, they abducted us or whatever. And then he's one of the guys there to rape them. And he like laughs and pushes them back in. And they end up killing him. Great. But there's like very little to most of the killings. A lot of the killings are just gunshots or something. Like that cop who screwed with them, they play like Russian roulette with him. And he's like begging for his life, which, it's pretty bad. But, after having watched the I Spit on Your Grave movies, the guy should have gotten so much worse. But as I said, I don't really have much to report on the rape part of the film. It's just kind of like they get locked up in these things, and random gross guys come and are like her, and then they walk in there, and then that's it. There's not really much to it. And do they get back at every person that rapes them? That would be way too convenient. I think they do, which it's a small town. I just don't see how you have this kind of business in a very small town and no one knows about it. But I guess because the cops in on it, I don't know. It's of course very far fetched, but whatever. I guess I'm fine with it. And yeah, I mean, once they break free and they get out of there and they take the cop's car, they just seem fine. They just seem fine. Like they're struggling when they're locked up, and then as soon as they get free, they just seem to be completely normal. They're out for revenge, and they're kind of trying to play it like they're crazy. But to me, they definitely do not feel like there's any kind of arc to them where they've been beaten and broken. Like in Revenge, the girl has such an arc to her. She's a sweet girl. She tries to get out of the situation the best she can, and then she's betrayed, and then she has to like figure out a way to survive after everything that happens to her. And then she like fights back, but at first she doesn't know what she's doing, and there's a struggle, and then by the end she's full on psychotic. I'm killing these guys no matter what. And I love the arc of that film. That character arc is fantastic. As to where with this one, like, if I was to put on this movie, if you weren't to see the first half, and I was to just put on them driving around, and they have some blood on them and whatever, but they're just like sitting in the car and they're like laughing and they're playing music and they're just singing and they just look like girls hanging out. They don't look like, they don't have like this look in their face or their eyes or their performance that's like something horrible just happened to them. They're like instantly recovered and are just on the warpath. And when they go to kill people, they're just, it's very generic. It's just very like, oh, you did this to us, so now we're going to do this to you. I don't buy any of it. I don't feel the catharsis, because not only do I not have the kills being on display and violent and brutal and inventive and crazy and creative and all of those things like what happens in I Spit on Your Grave, which, holy shit, man, that girl gets revenge. And when she's doing things, they're all very unique and they're all brutal and they're all, you wince and you're like, oh my God, imagine that happening. And they do have one of those moments in here where they like shove like a bat with things on it up a guy's ass, but we don't even really see it per se. We just, it's once again, it's kind of implied as to where with the I Spit on Your Grave movies, you see everything in those films, and that's what's great about them. But yeah, I find, and then they're just so casually driving around town in a stolen police car, then in a stolen truck. They're dragging a preacher's body behind the car on a rope down the highway. They park it in front of a convenience store, walk inside the convenience store completely covered in blood, buy some matches, then walk outside, burn a guy's body, the town preacher's body, right there in the parking lot, then drive off. But then later in the film, at the very end, they stage the killings to be pinned on one of the brothers that abducted her. This makes no sense. And I can even go a step further on that, because she's like, oh, wipe off the prints. They shoot the guy in the head, which then the blood splatter and everything goes outwards from him standing up. He dies, falls onto the ground, blood's pouring out of his head, right? And then she's like, oh, wipe the prints clean, and then you put the gun in his hand and shoot himself again. And she's like, make sure so it matches the trajectory and the splatter. And she says, I saw it on Dexter. And she's like, okay. And it's like, so you're telling me that a guy in your brain, the way that you're setting up this murder suicide thing that you're saying happened, he shot himself in the head, fell to the ground, and then shot himself again on the ground? Like, and then they talk about in there, they're like, oh, my uncle's a detective, and he said, I wish things were like CSI. That stuff's all bullshit. So forensics investigations are not really all that great, which is not true, by the way. Is it like how it is in the movies to that sophisticated of a level? Not exactly, but it's pretty it's pretty freaking pretty amazing these days what they are able to do. Now, who knows who's going to look into this and whatever, but the fact that they shoot him in the head a second time. So people typically don't shoot themselves in the head twice when they're committing suicide. That's just, rule of thumb. Usually you don't get two shots off at your own head. That's not how that works. You don't shoot yourself and then you're laying there and then you shoot yourself again. It's possible, right? I mean, it's definitely possible. The first shot wouldn't match the trajectory though. You shot him from a different area and that trajectory would be coming through his head at an angle that would not match. He wouldn't come down on it like this, right? Like his arm wouldn't work in that way. They're obviously not thinking about things at all. And once again, I'm being a little nitpicky here, but I'm not. I'm not being nitpicky. I'm sorry. I take that back. Having him shoot himself in the head twice is fucking idiotic. That's fucking idiotic, right? Like knocking him out or something and then having him shoot himself. But then that wouldn't work either. Like this is very easy to figure out. If he has like blunt force trauma to the back of the head that clearly is in the shape of like a bat, and then he shot himself, people are going to be like, especially if he shot himself on the ground, there's very easy ways to figure this out. It doesn't take a more refined CSI person to figure it. Okay, I'm moving on. This is stupid. So fucking stupid. But they're, anyway, getting back to their plan is to blame it on these guys, but they walked into a convenience store. Every convenience store I've ever been in my life has cameras. They're covered in blood. They are some of the victims. They buy matches, and then one of the guys who was raping them, his burned body is left in the parking lot even if they didn't have cameras. This guy who works there would be like, when people came to retrieve the burned body in the parking lot after he called the cops, they would be like, "What did you see anything suspicious?" And he would say, "Yeah, two girls came in covered in blood and bought matches. Pretty sure I know who did it." And then when they're discovered to be survivors, which would be huge news in town, he would look at their pictures and say, "Those are the two girls that walked in and burned the guy's body." Like, this movie doesn't even try. It doesn't even remotely try when it comes to that kind of stuff. The fact that they even bothered to say it. See, it wouldn't upset me if they just said fuck it and they killed him. And if they were just like, nobody's going to care what happened to you guys. That would have been a better line. Like, oh, you're going to get caught. And it's going to be like, no, nobody's going to care what happened to you. What you just did to us, no court, no people would give a shit. We'll get away with this, guaranteed. And then later, in the end of the film, they could point out, the detective or whatever, because they don't let their detective uncle find out. They leave him locked in another room. And there's another huge thing that I have a problem with in this film. There is no struggle to kill everyone that they kill. They easily take down everybody. There's no fight. There's no struggle. Nothing. They just sneak up on him, knock him out, tie him to a chair, pretty much every single one of them. And then they shoot him in the head or whatever. It's very simple. There's no fight back. There's no nothing. There's no character development, no arcs, no anything. The film is so one-dimensional, and it hasn't thought out absolutely anything in the film. Nothing in the film makes any fucking sense. So, anyway. And let's see. The people who don't care about others but care about their own people, I know people like this exist, but that's another thing that's overly fascinating to me. Like, the mom is freaking out that that the girls are going to kill their sons for what they did to them, right? These two guys abduct these two girls. The mom helps them. And then the girls come back, tie the mom to the chair, and make her watch as they beat one of her sons to death. We don't get to see it. It's off screen. And then shoot the other son after telling him, we'll let you go if you beat your mom to death. He doesn't do it, so they shoot him. That's the double shot guy in the head. And then they also kill her. So, but she's freaking out when she has no sympathy, no cares at all for their lives. None. She has no problems selling them into sex slavery to then be killed and discarded like trash, but genuinely seems to love her own children. How anyone could be that devoid, like, one makes sense to me and the other makes sense to me, but both don't make sense to me. So you're either somebody who has no morality, does not care about anything, is a complete sociopath, has no love in their heart at all, could watch anyone die, fuck the world, or you're a compassionate person that cares about human life. A mixture of the two doesn't make any sense to me. But as I said, they're fucking crazy people. But how she cares about her kids and is so upset that someone's going to abuse them, but is completely disconnected from the fact that these girls are someone's kids, that these girls are human beings just like their kids. I I don't see how that's possible. I mean, it clearly is possible because there are people like this. There's something so broken in their brain that they're able to detach. And they're like, well, this is just business. Anybody who says those words, I've said this many times on the channel, anybody who says the words, it's just business, is an asshole. That's it. It was nothing personal. It's just business. Anyone who can say that with a straight face is a garbage person, and you should cut them out of your life. Although I think anybody who says that to you isn't in your life anymore. Like, that's kind of the final stamp of anything. Like, it wasn't personal, it's just business. Nobody says that and then they're friends after. Like, you only say that at the end when the friendship's over. It's like, well, it was nothing personal, man. It's just business. And have a good life. Anyway, everybody in this movie tries to offer them money. I guess they're making a lot of money off of selling these girls. I mean, I would hope so, right? Like, what the fuck else would be the point of it? But each one of them seems to have exactly $100,000, which is kind of funny. And I like that the girls take it and that they agree to it, and they're like, yeah, sure, tell us where it is, and we'll let you live. And the guys, every one of them tells them where it is, so they go and they find it, and then they kill them out. That I love. That I love. I love that they have no sympathy, that there's never for 1 second that they even hesitate. That I do love about the film. The girls are completely committed to killing these people, and never for 1 millisecond do they ever change their mind on this, for not even for a fraction of a second. Yes, thank you. I am so glad that happens. So good on them for that, at least. But they make $100,000 look like nothing. It's really funny. Typically, like $100,000 in a movie is in like a briefcase, and there's tons of rows of bills. But in this, it's just like two rolled up, like kind of thinner rolls of cash. The guy's like, I think I have like $100,000, and they bring out like two rolls of hundreds that are about this thick. No, no, 10,000 or 100,000, 100,000. That's 1,000 bills, $1,100 bills. You are not putting 500 bills and rolling it into something this thick. It's not even close. That's not even close. Take, probably, let's say 50. That's probably about 50. I'd say those rolls are about 50 bills, maybe less, but I'll go with as high as 50. That's $5,000. That's $5,000. $5,000 and $5,000. That's $10,000. That's 1/10 what they said. Those two rolls are about $10,000. That's about what I would say those were. But they're like $100,000. Each one of them says $100,000, and when we see the bills, they're rolled up and they're that big now. I'm sorry, it's not $100,000. No, it's not $100,000 unless they're $1,000 bills, which obviously they're not. Which I swear at one point there are $1,000 bills, right? Like, I've seen there's a $500. What exists? I'm gonna have to look this up. Is there $1,000 bill? I've seen it. I've seen $1,000 bill, but I feel like I've seen it in a movie. Have I seen it in real life? I don't know. Is there $1,000 bill? Anyway, I know that's not what this is. Imagine trying to walk into a store with $1,000 bill if it exists and trying to spend it. Like, what would the point of a fucking $1,000 bill? Unless you're paying rent, but then the people who got it, the only thing you could do with it is pay off big things. So it'd be, I guess you could just take it to the bank, but whatever. Anyway, I think that's mostly it. Yeah, I think I'm done with this. I've said enough. But Katie and Sloan, aka Ripley and Heather, they get their revenge. They just, after they kill everybody, they seem to get away with it, and they're totally fine. They just are like, there's nothing wrong with them. They're back to their life. They've got a ton of money, which is great. I'm glad that they got their payoff at least. So good for them on that. I like how it ends up for them. I wish they would have got raped, but they seem to get some decent compensation. They get revenge on everyone who did it to them, and they get a huge lump sum of cash. It's better than most get, right? If you're gonna get freaking raped and put into something like this is probably the best case scenario you could possibly have coming out of it. But they go to like an organic farm at the end. I don't know if that's supposed to imply. I don't think that. Do the people have anything to do with the organic farm? Or because they say that they're like down the road and that they're part of it, but I think that's just a straight across lie, and that the farm doesn't, because they come to pick them up and they get talked out of going to the farm. So I don't know if this is like them implying like they're finally making it to where they're supposed to be going, or if the farm's in on it, are they now going to this farm to take out those people as well? I don't think that's what it was. I think that they're just finally going and getting to the place they were supposed to go originally, and they're fulfilling their desire to do what they originally wanted to do. But I also kind of looked at it like, did I miss something? And that this is them going to take down the people who also were part of this, like on a bigger scale, like setting up a sequel even or something. I don't know. So you let me know. Person who recommended this, I can't say their name. They've asked to not be named. But yeah, even lambs have teeth. Not for me. But you got a big long review out of it. I sure talked a lot, so I had something to say about it. So that's that. All right. For anyone who cares, thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you in the comments. Adios.